Welcome to the DJ Insider Podcast, sponsored by Amplified Events.
It's the only podcast where we break down insider information from our weddings, experiences, and advice from over 15 years in the wedding industry.
We're your hosts. I'm Mike Kane, owner of Amplified Events.
And I'm Chris Zart, general manager of Amplified Events.
Let's get into it. All right, we're back. And it is February, but it's shorts weather in the Midwest, which means it's 50 or 60 degrees out.
Thanks, global warming. It's a good time.
We owe you one.
It's like 70 degrees and it's perfect.
Beautiful. We had a really fun weekend. Sunday it was a tasting put on by Classic Catering. The food was phenomenal. We got a plate. It was so good. It was at Barrel House, the venue. So Kyla was there and Sharon, the owner, was there. Mm-hmm. It was really great. Monica Z, Chris, our friend from Sugarfield, was there. Flowers. Yeah. There's a couple other vendors I hadn't met before.
It was tasting, but it was almost like a bridal show. Just like it was like nice networking with a few other vendors there and just hanging out. But yeah, it was my first time there too. So it was nice checking out the space because I'm going to be there this year doing some weddings. So I'm excited to get over there. Yeah.
But a great team over there. Of course, like beautiful what they've done with it, and it's perfect for a venue. But yeah, we were talking to lots of couples, and it was so funny because people were asking us kind of questions on the spot, and then we kind of came up with this like, oh, that's a good podcast topic.
Yeah.
Which was like basically like, what are some good questions to ask your DJ before booking? If you're interviewing DJs, good questions to ask. And then I want to do the opposite of that too. Like, what are some bad questions to ask?
Right.
And really the good questions is because they give you good information. And they help you make a better decision, as well as help you understand what the outcome's going to be like.
Right.
Bad questions because they don't really help you understand what that outcome's going to be, and the information you glean from it is not super useful, or it's somewhat obvious and it has nothing to do with the experience you're going to have.
Right.
So let's start with the good. We can kind of go back and forth, tag team.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to start with, I think that just start with at least having any questions whatsoever. I think the worst thing is not having any questions planned, which does happen. I have couples that they just put in no research or preparation. I love when you've checked out our website, you might have seen our Instagram. We put our stuff out there. So, we try and make it really clear basically what we have to offer before we even get on the phone. So I love when people are kind of there. Good questions.
People have their like ideal vendors, like there's going to check a lot of boxes, things that you're looking for in a DJ, right? We have that with our customers, with our clients. We want clients to research. We want clients to talk to several DJs, to look on our website, to look at our social media, to look at our reviews. Is this everything you're seeing? Is it in line with what you're wanting?
Yes.
If so, reach out, schedule a thing with us, and come prepared. Come with questions. Hit us with it. We're not afraid. And any vendor that you talk to, any DJ you talk to, if they are like, oh, I don't answer questions, if they're kind of like bulky, they don't really answer your questions, they avoid it, that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
So do the research. That's going to be a big thing because if you do the work on the front end, the experience on the back end is going to be phenomenal.
Well, yeah, and we're offering a service, not a product. If we're selling a product, we're trying to sell as much as we possibly could.
Sure.
When people go into a call and they might be thinking like, oh, they need to convince me, like I might not want to work with you. And that could be a good reason. I might not be the right fit. And we talked about that before of like, we're selling an experience. So we need to make sure that we are within the experience that you're looking for.
Yes.
We only work so many days. We only have so many DJs at our company. So, on certain days, it's like, if we're going to be fully booked or whatever, we want to be working with people that, they're going to be happy with what we're going to be giving them.
I would rather us personally as a business owner and knowing what I know working weddings, I'd rather not be fully booked. I'd rather forego that money and guarantee that we're going to have 4 amazing weddings,
right?
Versus like 8, where 4 are amazing and 4 are like, eh.
Yeah.
I would much rather it be amazing experience for everybody because it's amazing for the DJ, it's amazing for the couple, it's amazing for the guests. That's going to equate to better business down the road for everybody and a better experience than just people who are like, DJing wasn't really important to us. It's what you do. So you book a DJ.
Yes.
And, I guess we're not really big dancers, but I guess we're getting married. And so people book a DJ. So you guys do that. So where do we pay?
People know that they need to do it. It is for the majority of weddings a necessity. photographer too. And, there's a lot of vendors, some that are like, we could choose to do this, but I would say pretty much every wedding we do, it's like they already know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think good questions. I really like just some like they're looking for security in us, and that's really important to look out for. Of like, does this person have a backup plan? And like, hey, do you guys have extra equipment if something goes wrong? And and then we can talk about an experience we've had, where something like that's happened, or something that happens to you. Do you have other people at your company? Do you have other vendors, you work with? I really like, it's okay to be concerned. And like, these aren't really bothersome questions. I feel like there are some questions where it really depends on how it's being asked.
Yes.
Like that could be a good question or a bad one. Like it's just all how it's phrased. But yeah, I really don't mind being asked kind of like, hey, worst case scenario, what can you do? Because then, if I'm able to answer that question, then great. But if they're talking to a DJ that they're like, oh, I had no plan, everything's going to go wrong, then it's like, that's an immediate red flag at you being a client looking at that vendor. So
when I was a therapist, a lot of the training goes into asking questions, but you want to ask a good question that gleans good information, right? There's yes or no questions. Ideally, if you ask one of those, people are going to say yes or no, and they're going to elaborate. But typically people just say yes or no.
Yeah.
And then the question's done. That's not really a good question unless it's a fact that you need to know. Is your wedding at this venue? Yes or no? Or have you DJed at this venue before?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think that's kind of a bad question. But anyway, I had wrote down the same thing about, I think a lot of people would say, do you have a backup plan? But that's a yes or no question. I think the way to ask that to a potential DJ is, what is your backup plan?
Right.
Because then the DJ has to go through their process, and the way they answer that is going to tell you a lot about how much they've thought about it. And to me, really good DJs are going to tell you what their plan is, experiences they've had in the past, and how they handled it. And so I love when people are like, what is your backup plan? And so then we'll always say things like, we have multiple DJs on staff. We overbook ourselves, meaning that we have 2 lead DJs typically working a wedding. So there's already an assistant on the schedule ready to go with his own equipment, with everything.
Right.
And we also have access to all of your music, all of your timeline, all of the details, how to pronounce everybody's names. All of that is centralized. So somebody the day of, can step in and take over and do an amazing job, just as though it was the original DJ who was scheduled to be there.
Yes.
But then I talk about things like I've had numerous weather incidences. I've had power outages. We've had car accidents and severe sickness or illness. We've had people's loved ones got sick or ill, and so I talk about situations where we adjusted on the fly, made an adjustment, and ideally that everything went as smoothly as possible.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's going to be things out of our control that happen. So it's important to ask that question. That's a good one.
Yeah, I feel like the majority of things that do go wrong in our job are usually out of our control.
Yes.
We try and do everything ahead of time to avoid, possible mistakes that could happen. But being prepared is really important.
I love the question. Another good question to ask is, what is your process for music requests? Not like, do you take music requests? Again, yes, or it's how you ask the question will give you more information.
This is the other thing is like, I do try and when people ask a question, like I know like what they're trying to ask, like, both of those, if they're asking a kind of a yes or no question, I do try and go out of my way.
Yes.
And if you're a DJ doing sales, like really like, if you get asked yes or no, it's okay. You can say yes, but then explain.
Elaborate.
Why and how. But no, that is a really good one.
Yeah.
Not just like, what are you going to do? Are you going to take guest requests?
Yep.
Yes, no? Yeah. It's like, that is totally up to, our style. And we've kind of talked about before is like creative control is up to the client as much as they want.
Yes.
We do like to see it as a collaboration. We know what we're doing and we want to throw a good party, but I like that question a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
we curate a good energy with the music. We're mix artists, so we mix the music. We're very experienced at throwing good dance parties, good dance floors, because we know a lot of the things that help make that happen. We also know that it's your wedding, and we want it to reflect kind of your taste and style. So we want to avoid the stuff you don't want, and we want to make sure we're playing the stuff you do want.
Yes.
And honestly, at the right time of the night. You don't want to open with Mr. Brightside. I talked to a bride last night. Yeah. She's like, it's a really important song, and one of our friends, he takes his shirt off when he sings that, so we don't want grandma to see this. She's like, the shirt's not going back on. So she's like, later in the night is better. And I was like, I couldn't agree more. That's how we typically do it too. But if you ask your DJ that kind of question, hopefully they'll elaborate on that process of, yes, we'll take requests, but we really want to prioritize the stuff that you've told us you love.
Right.
We also want to prioritize the stuff that your guests are going to respond to and dance to. And ideally, sometimes those line up and sometimes they don't. But your job as a DJ is to blend those. Mm-hmm. And ideally seamlessly, and that curates the energy to make memories, to have a fun time, to have a party. What you don't want, and I always try to explain this to clients when we sit down with them to plan out the details of their wedding, is it to become a jukebox.
Yeah.
Where, so-and-so requested this country song, we'll play it, and it just ends up in a queue, right? And so then the next song, we want Safety Dance. Okay, so there's an 80s pop hit. Okay, then I want Shania Twain. Okay, so a country kind of 90s. All right, and then we want a slow song, and then I want Cupid Shuffle. And it's just, you end up with this weird energy that it's on again, off again, which is not a good flow and doesn't create a good dance party. It's like we talk about all the time. It's like running and you have to stop to wait for a car. It just kills the energy.
I feel like, the whole night you're developing a relationship with the crowd out there. And it's like, if you start to really cater too much and just let anybody give you a song and you're going to play it, then as soon as you don't do that, you're like enemy number one. You know what I mean? When you were like, you played the past 10 songs, why can't you play this one? Well, it's like, because those were okay, but this one's going to be bad. You know what I mean?
We don't have time to teach dance floor theory or DJ theory, song selection. We don't have time to teach that at a wedding. We're at the wedding, we're working on throwing a great dance party. And so I don't have time to explain to people, and let alone they don't want to hear it. They just want to hear their song, right? They don't care. They don't care that I'm there working. They just care about hearing their song, which makes sense, right? Yep. It's like, I'm at a party, I want to hear my song. Sometimes we can accommodate that. A lot of times we can't, because we're trying to accommodate what the bride and groom want, and what the guests are responding to.
I think that's something I struggled with, like, starting this job a little bit, and like I'm sure you can relate, of like, we're both people pleasers.
Yes.
It's kind of hard of when you have someone who like really wants to hear something, of like, I just had to trust my gut and like, no, like just like just have a backbone and just tell someone like, I really try to avoid to say a direct no.
Yeah.
But like, and I always start with like, it's going on the list, I'm writing it down.
Yes.
You know, because then at least you feel acknowledged, but like, I'm not promising to play anything. I'm just saying, hey, I'm writing it down. Yeah. Like
Record it.
I'll throw it on the list. All good.
Who knows?
But I think that at this point I would rather that I leave the night, everyone, we're best friends. They're all happy. We had a good night. But if it takes me making one person upset that night because they didn't get their way and everybody else had the best time ever, that's what's going to happen.
You're never going to
I don't want to do that, but it's what it has to be. So
you're never going to please everybody. No. And if you have to choose, you should choose the couple. And they're close family and friends. The people that matter the most at that event, the people who are paying you, that's who you really got to please when you have to pick. And you almost always have to pick to some degree, right? But honestly, the thing you described, I was the same way when I first started. I really catered to the requests too much, and it costs you dancers because of that energy switching and out. The longer you do it, the more experience you have. And when I played that last 20 times, that song, it killed the floor.
Right.
And so part of what you're paying an experienced DJ for is that experience, but the experience develops your instinct to read a crowd, to understand the vibe, the energy the crowd's responding to, the kind of songs they're responding to, and to make those decisions the night of.
Yeah.
Nope, that doesn't work. This does work. And if you have to play it and it's not working, to have a plan to get out of that and go to something else, to keep things moving, because you have very limited time of a party and you don't want to waste it on songs that are killing the energy and that people are leaving for.
Yeah.
But that's why you pay an experienced DJ. Yeah. And that's why you don't do a playlist. People are like, I save money, I just do a playlist. You're not going to have a full floor all night. You're not going to have a good time. You are probably going to be guaranteed to hear the songs you want to hear. But let's be honest, what you're really paying for at a wedding is, yes, you want to hear the songs you want to hear, but more than that, you want a great party. You want a great memory. You want fun things to happen with the dancing. You don't want to leave that up to, I hope everyone likes the playlist tonight.
Well, and that's like, there's weddings that we both of us have done where I have been given a list. They say, only play these songs.
Yeah.
And it could be a big enough list that we can still pick the songs and everything. And we do have some creative liberties we can throw in there. But, and it's gone great. They just know their crowd well. I've had other times where it's totally opposite. They give me a list, I'm sticking to it, and no one wants it. It's really important that like we know in that moment, like sure, ahead of time, these songs are great. They could be good, but in the moment, is this really what people are going to want? Like maybe on a different day, this song could have been good, but on this day, these people want to hear this. I don't know. It's really, it's important that, you know, that's our whole job, is just seeing like how people are going to respond to what we're putting out there.
And when we're meeting with couples, we're always listening.
Yeah.
Because we really want to do what they want. We want to do, and more than that, we also want to educate, because we do this. So we want to help them use their music, use their taste, and use what we know works, and to blend those so they can have an amazing time.
And if you're a DJ getting started, this is another thing I think I had a hard time with at the start, was like, yeah, if like couples mention something when you're talking, and they're like, and then you think this is going to be bad for the energy, the day, the flow of things, the dance, or whatever, just throw out your suggestion and say like, hey, this is what I'm concerned about. Because the worst thing they're going to say is, no, I still want to do it. Even if you put your concern out. There's not going to be any hard feelings. Just be nice about it. Be like, hey, listen, I've done hundreds of weddings. This has been my experience when this usually happens. You know, and then if they're really, you know, still, hey, let's do it, go for it. But like really stand up for yourself. Like do what you think is right. Because, you know, we say it a lot that you only get one chance at it. But
I had a couple I met with last night, kind of to your point. And they're like, we want to do a unique thing for our introductions. We love the film Remember the Titans. And they want to do the entrance of that, like, we are the Titans. But they want to do like their last name with their bridal party, which is basically, it's a chant and response.
Right.
And so they asked what I thought of that. And I said, you know, in my experience, I've done stuff like this. I haven't done that specific thing. But that's going to require a lot on you guys and your bridal party to bring the energy. I go, think about karaoke. The best people doing karaoke, they really own the stage. They really own the energy. Even if they're bad singers, if they're entertaining and they're having fun, the crowd can have fun and engage with it and enjoy the experience. But if they're awkward, if they're quiet, everyone else feels awkward. They're singing off key. It's not a fun thing. And so I said, I worry, is your bridal party prepared to practice this? Are they prepared to bring that energy? And then they talked about like, you know, there's going to be 300 plus people there. So I go, are you guys going to be mic'd? Like, or are you just going to kind of do it a cappella? Like, we're going to do a cappella. And I go, in a room of 300 people, to command that much attention with just your voice, with no amplification, it's going to be a hard thing. Because everyone's human body is sucking up all that sound. And even as a DJ, when I have a mic and speakers, I have to announce two or three times. Because the first time they're ignoring me, the second time they're listening, you know. And so I explained that to them, educated them on. So they're going to take that information back, talk to their bridal party, think it through some more, and they may still do it. But I said, look, I'm all in. I'll do this. I'll help announce it, bring the energy, whatever you need.
But you're gonna give your top energy.
Yes.
You're like, are they gonna match that energy?
Yes.
Because that's you're really right. Of like what you put out there, that's what people are gonna take and absorb. And they'll give back. You know,
they're never going to go above your energy. So if you're quiet and awkward, the crowd's not going to go, yeah. They're going to be like, oh. And so I was trying to educate them with how many weddings we've done and seeing that, like, I want your dream to happen. There are some risks and challenges to that. But I said, you know, either way, if it doesn't go well, it doesn't matter. But man, if it goes really well, the crowd's going to be all for it. Crowds love seeing things they haven't seen before. They love audience participation things. So if we can really get them interactive and involved with that, that could be a thing that really makes and begins the night, sets the energy off right. On the flip side, if the bridal party is too drunk or they're not into it or they're not loud enough or everyone's kind of like, yeah, we give up because we didn't get that immediate crowd energizing response, you know, it's going to be like stand-up comedy when you're bombing up there, you know? And so I don't ever want couples to go through something like that, especially at their wedding. So I'm trying to beforehand educate and help them have the best experience possible, even if there's a challenge to it. I want to use that. So they were open to it. I think they're going to take my suggestions. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you know next time we meet how it went. But it's right along those lines. Other questions that are good to ask. Sorry. I like it when couples ask, what is your MC style? Or what is your kind of like dance floor, like building dance floor style? Like, what is your music taste style? And basically what they're asking is, what is the experience going to be like at the wedding? I always first and foremost talk about, read our reviews, because those are past customers that are sharing what their experience was like. If you like what you see, you're probably a good fit for because that's what we do.
Yeah.
So read the reviews. That's what our customers are experiencing. And so I always talk about like, we're professional, so we're not going to do anything that's like cheesy or embarrassing. We like to keep the focus on the couple. Like this is their wedding. We're celebrating them. We're not there to show off how cool we are.
Yeah.
We're not there to get on the dance floor and break dance and dance with grandma and basically show that like we're the coolest guys ever. We're not there to elevate everybody else thinking we're great. We're there to keep everyone think the couple's great and celebrate their marriage and their relationship.
Yeah.
And so some DJs do that. Some DJs are all about the hype. They're all about the vibe. And
there's people that do want that.
That's right. And so if you want that, that's not us. So that's what I also say. That's why it's a good question to ask. We really want someone who's going to get out there and dance. Well, you should know that's not us.
Yeah.
So if you want that experience, that's not something we do as a practice, because, my other companies do it because that's their theory about what makes a good party. My thing is like, I'm there to help curate a good party. I'm here to throw a good party, not be the party.
Right.
And so I think that's important. I also talk about we're personable on the microphone. We like to connect with the crowd, get them energized, get them having fun. But I'm not there to call anybody out, make anybody feel awkward. I'm not there to do a stand-up comedy and think that I'm the funniest person ever. Sometimes I'll throw a flourish in if it's needed, but it's very little. It's really, and we're definitely not there to do any self-promotion or sales.
Yeah.
We're running a promotion right now for all you people. No, weddings is not the time to sell.
That's crazy.
Yeah, any DJ who's like, yeah, you can come to our weddings and watch us work. No, that's a private event.
I love when I book weddings through weddings. That's great. I've had that happen before because that's a direct great feeling of like, oh, you saw what I was doing, you liked that enough that you want to have me be your DJ, but in an indirect way, not like in a like we worked for that.
Yes, they saw what we did and they wanted that.
Yes,
and that's this couple I met with. They had been to 2 other weddings we did and they loved it. Both of them were epic.
Yeah,
really fun weddings, and so they want the same. And so we're going to do it. We're going to bring it. But I like those kind of questions. I think those are really important to ask.
I do like that because you get to talk about yourself a little bit and kind of what's important to you, and kind of thinking about that. The one that I like is just how did you get into this? What do you like about weddings? What's most important to you? Because that is a constant changing answer. Like the longer I spend this industry, like at the start it was like, well, it's fun being on the dance floor, and then now it's like I just love really seeing, not like in like the crazy ways, like you were saying of doing like a chant or whatever, like making things unique, but like, a wedding we did recently where the best man speech, you already know which one I'm talking about.
So good.
Was so good. And then that one's going to stick with me for like a while. It's just things like that I really love. But I love that like, my answer is always changing and couples get to hear a little bit about me on like a personal side and why my work is important. And they're also realizing like, oh yeah, this is my job. I've been doing this for a while. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Do I still like it? Because really, that isn't.
Are you burned out? Yeah.
If you ask them like, and then their answer is pretty stale, then like you get a pretty good idea of like you might not be enjoying this anymore. Yeah. But I really like that question a lot.
And also be wary of anybody who's guaranteeing anything. It's such a crazy environment. Like if they're promising it's going to be a full floor all night, that's.
Gotta under promise and over deliver.
Right? That's a difficult thing to guarantee. Ideally, that's what you want. There's a lot that goes into that. And there's DJs who can do that pretty regularly.
Yeah.
That's great. But I guarantee you every DJ has a horror story where they just, no matter what they did, they couldn't get the floor going.
There's ones I've gone into where I'm like, this is going to be great. And then it doesn't happen. I was like, what? How did that's not supposed to happen.
You could still have an amazing wedding and you could still have fun memories and a good time, even without a full floor all night. And there's a lot you can do as a DJ to help make the day fun and memorable and stress-free for the couple too. That has nothing to do with getting people dancing. Dancing is a big part of what we do, but it's not the only thing.
Right.
So, bad questions.
Yeah, now it begins. The one that immediately, because this is the other, I'm going back to something I was talking about at the start, which was, since we're not selling a product and we only have so many days and people we can book, we're not like, when I'm having a call with someone, I'm not immediately like, I need this. I need you to book. And a lot of couples think that I'm desperate for them to book.
Yes.
And then I get the question of, well, why should we go with you when there's this other guy who's priced lower?
Cheaper.
Immediately when I get that question, I don't want to work with that person anymore, like most of the time.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a day that we're never booked on or something. But, most of the time it's like, we're going to get work on this day. I don't. So, yeah. And it's very insulting of just like, my answer is always, there is no reason. Go with that person. If that is what's important to you, if lower price, if you need to stay within a budget, that's totally fine. And if you've already talked to that person, you like their style, great, go with them. That's totally fine. I would love to work with anyone that wants to work with us, but yeah, immediately that's kind of like a red flag for me, is just because then at that point, if someone is then, they decide to go with us and then I really push them, and then immediately in the back of their head, they are like, this person pushed to get us as a client, which means we are now expecting something pretty high. And now we've paid more than we've wanted to. Yeah. So them going into this wedding, they're like, we've paid more than we wanted to. Our expectations are high now. I'm going to have to deliver everything that they're going to want. And we're both just going to have a bad time. I could let them down because they're not getting what they want. They're upset that they spent the money or whatever. So yeah, I think that's just, avoid clients that are going to put you in that position, I think.
Yeah. And of course, price is important.
Yeah.
When planning their budget, and we're not going to be the right fit for everybody. We talked with Eric 2 weeks ago about that. A lot of good information in that podcast. Check it out if you haven't already. But if price is most important to them, we may not be the right fit because we're not the cheapest. We're certainly not the most expensive, but we're certainly not the cheapest. And our prices are really based on the outcome we can guarantee and paying our DJs, paying ourselves a living wage, and keeping our equipment up to date. Basic things to run a successful business. That's what it's based on, and honestly, based on our market too. Yeah, there's DJs in New Jersey who can charge 10 or 12 grand because there's couples who have that budget for that.
Right.
I just don't think we personally can support that around here, and there's not enough couples who are interested and who are able to do that. And honestly, that's a different level of work associated with those weddings.
Yep. We also can't work year round. That's kind of like a thing for us too.
Yes, yeah. In the South, they can do that more.
Yeah.
They even have seasons down there, though. It's interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have in Florida and Texas. I've heard there's wedding seasons down there as well, which is different than up here.
Probably way too hot, I would imagine.
Yes, yeah. So it's more of the fall and spring are popular.
Right.
But it's interesting. Anyway, but yeah, that's kind of, I was going to say a similar thing. Couples who only care about price, who ask about what's going to cost, or when they come with, our budget's $1,000. We want everything for $1,000.
Yeah.
Ceremony, DJ, lighting, photo booth. That's what we want. I guarantee you, there's a DJ around here, a couple DJs who could do that.
Yeah.
They probably don't do this full time. It's probably just side hustle money for them. They probably do 5-10 weddings a year. Fine. It's extra cash. That quality is going to reflect in the outcome and that experience. And by the way, if they're able to offer a premium service at that rate, absolutely book them. Yeah. My guess is there's a quality issue if they're able to offer that many services.
They're, underselling themselves.
Or they're bad at business. They're new to this. They're inexperienced, or they're really not good at running a good business. And so they probably have another job anyways because they want to DJ full time, but they can't afford to because they are afraid to raise their rates.
Yeah.
And run a good business, run a business in a way that you can pay everybody and take care of yourself and take care of everything you need, pay all your bills, market, pay to all your equipment, upkeep, all the insurance, all the stuff. That's a big thing.
There is a good way to ask that question though, because I've had couples that we have an entire phone call. It's going really good. And they say like, hey, listen, we really like your style. We would like to work with you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is, kind of where we're at. Are you able to work with us? And then it's really up to, there's a lot of factors on our side. It's the date. It's how much lower is it that we're willing to go. But if they're like wanting to work with us, and they're just asking to see if we can make that possible, I'm much more willing to work with somebody compared to just like demanding like, we're going to go with this other person. Can you go lower? It's like, well, no, just go with the other person. That's fine.
Well, I've done enough sales too, and I understand people. I'm like, the reason you're telling me this is because you recognize my value.
You're right.
If you love that price so much, you would have already booked him. You would never even given me the chance to come down in price. You recognize I'm better than that person who's offering that, right? You've already seen my value, and you want me, but you want me at that price. That's a different, come on, let's just be honest. That's what's going on really. In those kind of situations. Other bad questions to ask.
Go ahead. You go.
When people ask, what kind of equipment do you use? Sometimes they're legitimately curious. Sometimes, honestly, they're big, like techie equipment people. And so they're like, oh yeah, I DJ'd as well,
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's just a question they found on a website And they just sent it in. Obviously, it's not a good question because it doesn't really demonstrate anything about the DJ's abilities. It just demonstrates that they could buy that equipment. But if you do ask that question, you better hear, we have turntables, we have controllers, we have some sort of mixer, some PA, we have, basically professional level speakers, right? We're not doing a Bluetooth kind of thing, like a Bluetooth, what are those, like JBL, you better hear that it's not a playlist, that we're not using Spotify like for the whole wedding, where you better hear I'm not running it off, the whole thing is off my laptop. You better hear that they have a high quality microphone, wireless and wired, and they have backup, equipment to cover that. If there's an emergency, they can adapt. And, I have usually triple or quadruple backups on my music. I have backup microphones plug in and otherwise. And I also have a bunch in storage. And that's why I have an assistant. If there's an issue, go get us some more equipment.
Right.
I've more than once at a wedding, I've gone and bought equipment because it was closer and quicker to do that. Just to guarantee it was going to be a great thing.
Yes.
And it's something as simple as a mic stand. I didn't want to drive an hour back. I just went and bought a mic stand next door or whatever.
Yeah.
But I knew it was needed, but to me, it's not a good question to ask a DJ unless you're a big, you're a DJ yourself and you're just curious, but it doesn't really give you any information about the quality of that person.
That always like throws me off because I have had that question come up and I'm like, well, do you want to know like generally, or like I can tell you exactly the equipment I have and you can look it up if you want, but I'm like, it's probably not going to be very entertaining for you. Like,
ask your plumber what kind of tools they use. Ask your surgeon what kind of, scalpels, it doesn't matter, in those scenarios. If you're a pro, you could work on any equipment. You should be able to just step up, and there's DJs make jokes all the time. It's like everyone's a DJ until you put one of these in front of them, and they always joke that it's like turntables and stuff, because a lot of DJs don't know how to mix using turntables, so they'll do that.
That's funny.
Sorry, other bad questions
No, you're good.
I have another one. If you don't.
You go ahead.
Have you been to my venue before? Now, I'm going to qualify that because I think it's important. If your venue's recommending somebody, that means they've experienced work with them before, and they know that these guys can throw a good party at our place of business, in our house. And we trust them that they're going to show up, that they're going to communicate with us, that they're insured, that they're going to do right by our clients because we are putting our word on the line to recommend these people.
Yeah.
So ideally, they're gonna rise to that occasion and do a good job for our customers. Sometimes, it's in Illinois or it's in Michigan. It's just we haven't been there before. It's not that because we don't have a good relationship. It's that we have no relationship because we've not been there. But I'm confident that I can contact that venue. Yeah. I can schedule a site visit. I can communicate with them day of to be professional and do a great job. And then if I work with them, they're going to want us on their vendor list, right? But I think to disqualify a DJ immediately because I haven't been to such and such barn in rural Indiana,
I could see, because, okay, I see where you're coming from. I do understand the question of like, well, are you familiar with the space?
Sure.
Kind of like
some of them have
you set up before
unique layouts. But again, any professional DJ is going to offer to do a site visit.
But yeah, if that's like a deal breaker immediately, then that's kind of like an awkward, like, well, yeah, it's like I could go out and see it. Like the
reason it's a bad question is it doesn't give enough information. To it's not going to give you the right kinds of information you need to make a purchasing decision with that DJ.
Right.
But it could, because the DJ may answer that question in a way that's like, gives you confidence that they're going to take care of you.
Yeah.
If a DJ is like lies to you and then, we've been there. And then you can hear from their conversation that like, they actually haven't been there. They're describing the space totally wrong.
Right.
Watch out.
Yeah, that's not good.
I just don't think it's a helpful question most of the time. If you have been there, that's even better. Generally, I try to demonstrate that right away.
I do love saying that of like, we love the team over there. Because that's also a good opportunity of like just hyping up the people they're working with and immediately makes the client feel better too, of just kind of like, hey, like you're in good hands. Or
we understand the flow of things. We work with that team all the time.
Yes.
That's generally how I talk about it. We work with their people, so we know that day of there's not going to be this conflict or misunderstanding. We're going to work it all out as a good team because we've worked together as a team in the past.
Exactly.
Not like, do you know how to set up a speaker in a barn? Like, yes, I definitely do.
Yeah.
And like, where to put it? Where's the best spot to put?
Right.
We definitely know how to do that too. That's a basic thing.
But
yeah. Other bad questions to ask.
Well, we're talking about how we're not like, party DJs. We're just focused on having a good dance floor or not. But when people are like, well, okay, so, a lot of people that we're inviting are not big dancers. What are you going to do to get people out there?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to can you get on the mic and like tell people to dance? And I have to just be very honest with people of like, hey, listen, I can't force someone to do, something they don't want to do. And like, I will do everything in my power to put out a good energy, make people feel like they want to dance and then play good music. But like, I'm not going to be going around the room to, that's not my job. I'm sorry. Like if you have a group of people that you're inviting and you already know none of them are dancers, that is most likely what's going to happen. There's not a big chance that this person they don't know, I'm going to come out and, hey, I know that you guys on every wedding you go to, you never dance, but this is the one that you're going to now. It's probably not going to happen.
I certainly don't want to pressure or guilt or shame people.
Right.
It's not going to work. And it's not going to be a good look for me. Yeah. And it's going to make everyone else there feel awkward that I'm making them feel awkward for not dancing.
Right.
What I try to do is curate an environment of energy and sound that's like, this is the place to be. This is where the party's at. And I try to do that when I'm planning with the couple too. That like, hey, at this venue, I know it works really well if we're set up near the bar, Don't put us in this other room. Don't put us up in the treehouse or wherever. You want us close to the dance floor when you're planning your room layout, because that's how we can guarantee a better dance floor.
Yes.
And we want a good energy. If you guys are having a good time, let's celebrate. This is where the party's at. Versus like, yeah, it's a beautiful night and there's bags and there's like a million lawn games outside. Well, the party's out there because all these people love to, do barn games or parking lot, whatever games. That's where everyone's going to be.
Yep.
And if you make it easier, if I put a speaker out there, they're just going to stay out there.
Yeah.
I can hear the music just fine. I'm enjoying tossing my bean bags or whatever, it's okay. Some people don't want to dance. I've attended many weddings where I didn't dance and I still had an amazing time.
Right.
But man, the ones where you just dance all night, those are even more fun. Like
memorable.
Those are, yes. Yeah. And there's lots of reasons why I'm not in the mood. It's same with all of your guests.
Yeah.
So,
and actually going back, you just kind of reminded me of this, and this is a question I just got from a sales call I did recently. But good question to ask is kind of, they were talking about, hey, you've been to this venue before. This is where they're saying they want to have the DJ setup be. And it was like corner of the room. There is 5 or 6 tables in front of me. The dance floor is 80 feet away.
Yeah.
Like just the worst possible.
Yeah.
And then, the groom was like, I don't think that's right because I feel like that's bad for you. And then I explained everything of like, hey, this is why this is bad. I need to get the music to that side of the room. These people are going to suffer for it.
Yes.
They're going to be deaf. The dance floor is far away enough that, and they're like, huge, like a lot of reggaeton, kind of that kind of music. They're like, we're gonna have a lot of dancers out there. I'm like, you're not gonna be able to feel the music. We're so far away that you're hearing it, you're not gonna feel it. So I'm like, talk to your venue. I'm like, get us as close to the dance floor. We can tape down chords for power, whatever. We'll make it happen.
We have a very small setup too, so it lends itself to that. We don't need 20 feet of square space,
right?
I'm
just happy that they recognize that. And then asked me for like my opinion. So, I said, I'm like, even if you go with a different DJ, make sure they're not there because that is going to be a bad time for you, like for sure.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really good question.
Yeah. And I think with all these questions, I think you also want to provide good information to the DJ.
Yeah.
Information about what your priorities are, what your goals are, how many people are going to be there.
It's a conversation, not an interrogation.
Yes.
Like have these questions ready, but like, yeah.
Yes. And also, because I'm going to ask them, because I like to know that.
Yeah.
That helps me quote it out properly. If it's 500 people, that's more equipment, more people. If it's 100 people, that's less equipment, less people, less work overall. Yeah. And more people equals more dancers, right? It's just, if a certain percentage is going to definitely dance, the more people, there's going to be more dancers. It's just how it works. But I like to know that. And then I also like to know, is it family? Is it friends? What's the energy? Like, past events, your family, your friends.
Yeah.
Are they big dancers? Are they big partiers? Are they big drinkers? Like, we met that guy on Sunday. He's like, yeah, it's going to be a dry wedding. We're not big drinkers. I was like, but are you big dancers? He's like, oh, yeah.
It's going to be a party.
Yes. Yeah. So I was like, so we got to make sure we hit those songs that you guys really love.
Yeah.
And so that kind of thing. But that's good information to give your DJ because right from day one, we start planning like what's this wedding going to be like? What's the party going to be like? What songs are we going to definitely play? What stuff we're going to avoid? What kind of equipment we're going to bring? The approach is a little different for every couple because of those factors that change. Same with the venue. It's like, it's going to be outdoor under a tent in November,
Yeah.
Or is it going to be in a barn in July? There's a lot of factors that get people dancing. Weather is a big one. And so that's important to know. Also, day of the week, all those, but the biggest thing is your priorities. What are you looking to get out of the experience with the DJ?
Right.
You need to communicate that to them as best you can, is what you're looking for, what you're after. Because then it's going to be easier for them to deliver that.
Yeah, I think, clients, if you're working on planning your wedding right now, I think the most important thing is, be open to your vendor's opinions on things, figure out your priorities for what you're looking for, and you'll be set up for success.
I think so.
You'll be just fine. And be clear, like you said, just giving as much information as possible.
Yeah.
Is really important.
Yeah. Do your research, read the reviews. Because if playing your music is really important to you, or not playing the don't play, if the DJ has several reviews about how he ignored our music requests, well, he's probably going to do the same.
Yeah.
Every DJ is different, in their taste and their style. You should ask who's going to be the DJ. I think that's a good question. Who will be there to the best of your knowledge, right? Emergencies happen, but who's going to be my DJ? They should be able to confidently tell you who it's going to be, and offer to talk or meet with that person ahead of booking to make sure it's a good fit. You definitely don't want to bait and switch where you think you're getting the owner and the owner's not available. If people don't ask, I don't always tell because I don't always know who's available, because our DJs are like anybody. They have vacations and all kinds of things that come up. They have other jobs, families, things that go on. So I'm like, to my best of my knowledge, it's probably going to be this person. I can look right now. I'm booked. Chris is booked. This other person is our next go-to person based on experience. I think they'd be a good fit with you. I can set up a call if you want, but I'm confident they'll throw you a great party. They'll do a great job. If not just as good as me, better.
Yeah.
But be wary of we don't really know who's going to be. You just trust us. Or it's going to definitely be this person. Sometimes that does change and they should tell you as soon as they know, but that can happen. And so it's important to know who you're going to be working with, what their setup looks like, if it's different. We got a lot of people who book us because they love the way my setup looks. It's white. Yeah. Your setup is black. It's the same thing, but some people have a preference on that.
Yeah.
Other of our guys are newer, and so they don't have the booths yet. We're working on that, but
Yeah, don't be afraid to voice what's important to you. And I think that's both sides. Don't be afraid to ask questions if you're a client. Don't be afraid to ask questions if you're booking somebody.
Yeah.
It's really important to know what you're getting into.
Also, if equipment's important to you, we had somebody reach out about sparklers, cold sparks. That's not something we offer.
Right.
There's a lot of technical stuff with that, a lot of potential for fires, a lot of venues who will say no.
Yeah.
And so I like when clients are like, do you do this? No, we don't.
Right.
If you still want us, glad to do it.
Yeah.
Do you do dancing on the clouds? No, we don't. There's other companies who do it, Do you have a 9-foot tall robot who's lit up who will dance? We don't. That sounds really cool. That's not what we do. We don't have that. If you want that at your wedding, there's other companies that do that. You should book that company if that's the most important thing. But definitely don't book somebody and just expect that they're going to offer that service.
Yeah.
And definitely don't. Hopefully your DJ doesn't lie to you. That we have that, no problem.
Don't make it happen.
Yeah. Have you done it before? Do you own this part? That.
Of course.
They should be able to answer confidently.
Yep.
And from experience. But I don't have any other ones for now. We can revisit this topic in the future.
Yeah, there's definitely a million.
Yeah.
Just figuring out. But no, I think this was good. This was a really good topic. I enjoyed this. Something we deal with a lot. And I think it's really important to ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid. I would rather have someone ask too many than not enough, to be quite honest. So,
well, and I love that when they ask questions, because then I can kind of take it in any direction, but I can just share honestly from our experiences, and I can share stories.
Right.
And that to me is a better way to do it than to be like, I love talking about our services, like the lighting and what it does and why people book it.
Yeah.
But I more so love talking about our experiences.
Yeah.
And the fun weddings and the people that I've met. That to me is the biggest thing.
Yes. People see how did you handle this challenge, you know, and yeah, just get your overall vibe of who you are as a person.
Yeah. Versus like, if people all they're talking about is their equipment, I would be weary of what's that experience? What's that dance floor going to be like? Oh, we've got $10,000 worth of lighting. That's great. What's the dance floor like?
Right.
Will you answer my calls? Will you respond to my emails?
It's going to look really cool.
Dude, don't even worry about it. We've got lasers, you know, like we've got the most smoke ever, even though your venue says no smoke machines, you know. But you've booked it and you've paid for it. You've paid us $800 for this awesome smoke machine we can't even use at your venue.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Equipment is important, but it's just a tool.
Experience is everything.
Yeah. The experience is more. So, well, guys, thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate it. We will see you on the dance floor. I'm Mike.
I'm Chris.
We'll see you out there. Thanks.